Hey guys, and welcome to a guide on Tyrant the co-op dungeon. This is one of my favorite dungeons at the moment. It's very speedrunnable. You can run it with the Holy Trinity, or you can go tank 5 DPS, healer 5 DPS, or even just 6 DPS. Bearing in mind that you bring a little bit of health regen, maybe like a longbow or a wand. Now in this dungeon there will be 2 ads here. You will kill before you move on to the boss, and you can basically just dodge all the rest of the ads. You do need to kill 6, so if you pull, it's not the end of the world. The first boss is quite simple. Usually you'll kill this boss while you're forming. As you can see here, my group was already killing it by the time I got there. And so you will see quite a few of its mechanics. Basically the boss will call for ads if you leave him up for long enough, which is fine because you do need to kill 6 ads, so it's not really the end of the world. He'll jump around as well as blink strike, and he does have a bit of a stun that he can do. He can do a lot of DPS, so if you are like a squishy DPS, just make sure you're not like face tanking him. The only other mechanic he can do is turn invisible if you leave him long enough. You'll see these flowers around the arena. If you channel with them, and you can have more than one person channel with him, he will basically become uninvisible, and that will basically allow you to DPS until dead. That's quite an easy fight. Once you've killed these 6 ads, you'll unlock which door you'll be able to go through. It's random. Once you've unlocked this door, you will see that you need to kill another 8 and the next boss. So it's always a good idea to kill 1 or 2 at the door itself, because that way you don't have to backtrack. You'll also notice these little eggs. It's always a good idea to basically shoot these, especially here around the second boss. The reason being is they'll spawn more ads if you walk towards them, so it's good if you've got a bow or a staff or something to just kill them from range. Now the second boss is quite easy. He has a jumping mechanic. Be sure to try and dodge it if you can. If you get hit by it, it's not the end of the world, but it does do quite a fair amount of damage if you are squishy. Here you can see we pulled a lot of other ads on top of him, because basically we do need to kill those 8 ads. He moves a lot, so using directional attacks like my longbow 5 is pretty bad, because he pretty much would just jump straight out of it. Which is why in this case, instead of resetting my longbow 5, I just reset Nature's Blessing for a bit of extra mana, because I struggle with mana. You'll see he jumps around a bit, and eventually he'll just jump towards the gate like that. Now he says, I'll sweep you, and then he creates a massive firewall. You need to jump that. Now I did jump in this video, but for some reason I got knocked backwards. I have no clue why, which is a bit of a bummer. Usually that's a one-shotter, so usually if that hits you, you're dead. And I managed to survive, which is fairly cool. Once you've killed the 8 mobs, the gate will open. Now if you do not make it through, there is a lever on the left, and there's a jumping puzzle on the other side on the left, so you can jump over. So say if your whole group is not by the gate when the gate opens, it's not really a stress. Here you want to run straight through to here while one other person opens the cage that we ran past. I opened that cage there, and then you just mow down everything you've pulled along the way. Also, it's a good idea to burst as many of those little eggs as possible, so you don't have to spawn those little ads. Because, yeah, they're just extra things to kill, and they're flippin' annoying. Now on to boss 3. Boss 3 is a little bit more of an interesting boss. I don't actually fully understand the mechanics of this. Basically you start off with massive burst, just DPS him down as much as possible. He does have a shaman behind him you can take out if you want to. And basically you'll just rip straight into him. Now he does have this mechanic eventually where he will jump straight back into the center, and he'll get quite aggressive and target one player with a skill. Now I'm not entirely sure what happens or how this player is chosen. I don't know if it's proximity. I assume it's the furthest back player, but I swear sometimes I'm the furthest back player and I'm not picked. Now the idea is to angle him towards these towers so that when he attacks the player, he destroys the tower instead. I find that if he doesn't attack the tower and destroy it, he does a massive AoE, and it can do a massive group-wide damage. So if he does 1 or 2 of those, your group might wipe. Once he's dead, you'll obviously see that the geyser will explode. We killed the 8 before. Generally, most groups will leave it so that there's at least 1 ad alive, so that they can kill it with a couple of party members in here, because obviously it makes us a lot slower. Now when you do this glide, you're going to need to flap your wings. Basically just hold forwards and spacebar, and then you'll flap, otherwise you won't make the glide itself. Then on top left here, you'll run through and make it to the next geyser. Obviously, if you've got a whole bunch of people going with you, try and make sure they're all there, because otherwise they get stuck and they have to wait for the next updraft, and it just takes a little bit more time. Now for the final boss, before the fight, everyone will stand by a flower. This is basically to let everybody know which flower is yours, so when you go into rats, you know exactly what to do. The boss will start off and you'll get quite a nice DPS phase. This is time for your big burst. Try to do as much damage as possible. You can definitely get a couple of percentage off the boss before he pulls you in. Then the boss will pull you in and turn you all into rats. When that happens, you need to go towards your flower, but don't take your flower. Wait for that first explosion to happen and then take your flower. If you take the flower before that explosion, you'll be one shot and dead, and you'll be embarrassed and have to sit out the rest of the fight. Now, another thing about the rat attack, two things. If you do not make it to your flower nice and quickly, he will basically go down on all fours and hunt a player that is still a rat. If he does get you, he'll eat you. Generally, it's considered a one-shotter. Maybe if you're a tank, you might survive one of his hits, but he'll hit you with a second one fairly soon after, so try get to your flower as quickly as possible. Now, I have had a bug where I've got into the flower and the flower has not turned me to a human. Now what I've done then is burrowed and unburrowed again, and it's either fixed it or I died just due to time. If you do not turn back into a human in time, and even if he's not hunting you, you generally will just die after a certain amount of time. But if you do get that bug where you get to the flower and it's not turning you back to your human form, just go underground and up and out again, and generally that does fix it. Now if the boss says try dodge this, but he has not sucked you into the center of the arena, that means that he is not doing the rat attack, he's doing a different attack. This is the geyser attack. So he basically charges up the same one-shotter as he does as the rat, but there'll be two bubbling geysers. You need to stand in one of the two of them and be knocked into the air. Then you can glide down. If you do not get knocked into the air, you'll be hit by the one-shotter and die. Now if you notice the boss teleport into the center of the ring, that means he is going to do the rat attack. So you can pan your camera to see your flower. This makes it a little bit easier. If you do not do things like that, you can sometimes get caught in his hitbox and die just because you can't get away from him quick enough. Then the last attack of note is the boss will say, I'll fry you. He'll drop 3 fireballs from the sky and they become expanding crosses. Now, if you have good latency, you're not going to get hit by any of them. But if you have bad internet like mine, you might get caught by the initial one. Now, each hit of the cross does a stack of burning. Now, if you take one stack, it's not that much. You maybe take like 1,000, 2,000 damage over time. But if you get hit by 2, 3, 4 of them, you'll basically die. It is quite a strong attack. So generally you want to dodge diagonally because these go front, back, side to side. So what I usually do is as soon as the boss say them, you'll see me move diagonally away from other players because they might get a V-fire cross and you don't want to get hit by their stacks of burning. And the last attack I didn't mention is the boss does a blockable tail swipe. It seems to be arena wide. It doesn't do tremendous damage, but you don't want to take unnecessary damage, especially if you're running like 6 DPS, because then that with like fire stacks and things can mean that you'll probably end up wiping your group. Anyway, I hope this guide helps you tremendously. It was pretty fun to make. And if you want to try get guides like this for some other dungeons, please just likes, things like that always encourage me to try and make more content. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you don't like, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you didn't enjoy it, thanks for watching anyway, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.